From being hanged over a window for display to questionable accidental deaths, today we look at 10 mysterious unsolved cases that would send chills down your spine. A man named Jonathan Luna mysteriously died on the night of December 4th, 2003. Jonathan was an assistant attorney for the United States based in Baltimore. Near midnight, Luna left the courthouse and went the opposite direction from his home. He was then caught on camera going through an easy pass lane on I-95 and driving through several other tolls throughout the night. Close to 1 a.m., Luna withdrew $200 from an ATM and also purchased gas with his debit card. Why purchase gas with your debit card if you have $200 worth of cash that you recently withdrew? Strange, right? Jonathan's car was found later in Pennsylvania. Along with his body, he was stabbed 36 times by his own penknife around the neck. There was a pool of blood in the back seat, suggesting that Luna could have already been dead long ago and someone else was driving his car that entire night. The mystery of how Luna was killed is left unsolved. Shannon Gilbert, a 23-year-old prostitute from New Jersey, went missing. A year later, her remains were found in a marsh area. Before her disappearance, a strange incident occurred when Shannon was at her client's home. She was with the client that night and all of a sudden, she ran out of the house screaming for help and even called the cops. A witness said she was claiming that someone was after her and trying to kill her. After that night, she disappeared and was never seen again. The autopsy could not determine the cause of death, but investigators believe that she drowned while running through the marsh area, being in a drug-induced state. Also, during that month-long search for Shannon, investigators found 4 other prostitutes that were killed and stuffed into bags near the area where Shannon's remains were found. Investigators said that the murder were not related to Shannon's death, and the case went cold. Tom Thompson was a Canadian painter that went missing after a canoeing trip on July 8, 1917. Tom was last spotted on Canoe Lake 8 days before his body was discovered. Investigators believe that it was accidental drowning that killed Tom. The possibility of accidental drowning was questionable when reviewing the body. When Tom's body was uncovered, there was a piece of fishing line wrapped 16 times around his left ankle and there was trauma to his temple. Some suggest it was suicide and that he tied weights around his ankle using the fishing line to end his life. Also, others suggest that the wound on his temple would have come from the paddle. His death is still clouded in mystery, so what is your theory? Gareth Williams was an employee for the British Secret Intelligence Agency, the M16. He helped a variety of organizations stop terrorist attacks all over Europe. 1 week before his handler reported him missing, he was found dead inside a North Face duffel bag in his own bathtub. The bag was zipped closed with a small padlock. Investigators' initial theory was that someone placed him into the duffel bag, but later they claimed that William placed himself inside the duffel bag. Investigators tried to replicate the theory and failed with many attempts. Experts explained that William should have left a trace of DNA on the bathtub and padlock if he was able to accomplish it. One other possibility was that William's death could have been from a sex fetish that went wrong. He owned women's clothing and often visited bondage websites. So what do you think? So is it possible to zip yourself up in a duffel bag? On July 24, 2002, a woman by the name of Evelyn Hernandez's body was found floating in San Francisco Bay. What's horrifying is that when the body was discovered, her torso was cut open and the fetus that she was carrying had been removed. Investigators were not able to figure out why she was murdered at first, but during that same year, another victim that was pregnant went missing. Investigators speculated that a serial killer might be linked to these murders, but it was not long until the husband of the second victim was found guilty of murdering his wife, so the serial killer theory was dismissed. Investigators are still unsure who killed Hernandez and why her fetus was removed from her. Hernandez's death still remains a mystery. Morgan Diana Harrington faced a tragic night when she went to a Metallica concert at the University of Virginia campus. Morgan went with a group of friends that night, and not even long into the concert, she left to use the bathroom. She never came back, and her friends started to worry. They called her, and when she answered, she said that she was outside the concert. Morgan told her friends that she cannot get back inside because there was a no re-entry policy. The weird thing is that the bathroom was inside the concert area, so there was no need to go outside. Her friends were suspicious as to why she went outside, but Morgan reassured her friends that she was fine and she would call a cab home. After that night, she was never to be seen again by her friends or family. The search for this missing girl went on for weeks, and bystanders claimed to see Morgan outside the concert. Soon her body finally turned up when a farmer found her in the fields. Investigators never managed to find the murder or why she left her group of friends in the first place. Karen Silkwood was an American chemical technician who died at the age of 28. She was a union labor activist known to help raise concerns about the health and safety of workers in nuclear plants. The plant Karen worked at had manufactured faulty fuel rods. The company falsified product inspection of the rods, putting employees at risk with plutonium contamination. Karen self-checked her body for contamination, and she was 400 times over the legal limit. She decided to blow the whistle on the company, and on the day she went to meet a journalist, she got into a car accident and died. According to her co-workers, Karen left a union meeting with a binder full of documents before her accident. When they discovered her body, there was no documents to be found. Investigators believe the car crash was an accident, but the damage patterns around the car contradict the theory. Was this just a coincidence, or was there foul play? Lily Ledestrom was a 32-year-old prostitute living in Stockholm during the early 1930s. She was a murder victim of a particularly strange case. Lily's friend that lived on the same floor claimed that the last time she saw Lily, she was meeting up with a potential client. Lily also asked her friend to borrow some condoms before she left. After 3 days not hearing from Lily, she was worried and called the authorities. The officers eventually came and broke down Lily's door, not only to discover she was dead, but her body was completely naked and face down on the bed. What's even more terrifying is that the killer drained her blood and was drinking it with a ladle. Many of Lily's clients were questioned, but investigators could not find any suspects or the killer. Eventually, the case went cold. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old female whose body was found inside a water tank on top of a hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was reported missing for a few weeks before her body was recovered by maintenance workers when they were checking on the tanks due to guests complaining about the water supply. Elisa was seen on an elevator caught by a camera. The shocking video showed how abnormal she was acting. She first entered the elevator, pressing all the floor buttons. When the door did not close, she poked her head out just past the door looking around. At one point, she would lean her body against the elevator as if she was trying to hide from someone. The video ended up her stepping out of the elevator and making weird hand gestures as if she was talking to someone. Some people think that she was possessed, but others suggest that she was trying to get away from someone. Autopsy concluded that her death was accidental drowning, as there was no physical trauma or sexual abuse. However, this does not explain how she got into the tank in the first place. There was no fixed access to get on top of the tank, and the heavy tank lids were always closed. Not only was it almost impossible to get inside the water tank by yourself, the whole roof area was restricted. So how did she manage to end up there? Eugene Izzi was a professional writer and was found dead in the most bizarre fashion. Eugene's body was hanging from his office window in downtown Chicago. Can you imagine the horror of walking by and seeing a cold body hanging from a window? Investigators declared the death was caused by suicide and no foul play. Death by suicide was questionable. When they discovered his body, he was wearing a bulletproof vest, and there was also a loaded gun inside his office. They also found brass knuckles and a bottle of mace spray in his pocket. There was no threatening phone calls that was found in his computer. That explains why he had all those weapons, and he probably felt like his life was endangered. But it was never proven that someone was after him.